Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? This thing about being good enough,
Yeah,
perfectionism, trying to honor and perfect your craft while balancing that against recognizing that failure is inevitable and you have to be willing to step into that.
I do think failure can teach you many, many things. It can really teach you what your limits are. And I think it's really good to, in your youth, in your 20s, 30s, to take a whole lot of chances and fail. It's really great to see what your limits are. It's really great to see how hard putting it. I'm glad I put in those 80 to 100-hour weeks when I was 22 and 20, 21 and 22, because I knew then later on what my limits were and what I could do, and what I couldn't do. And I knew I didn't want a life like that because it was horrible. I was stressed and sleep deprived, and it was really, really horrible. But I'm glad I did it when I was young. So I think it's okay to go through and fail. And this is, maybe the advice that I would be giving to my 20 something year old self is it's okay. You're going to fail a few times, but from that, you're going to learn and you're going to grow and you're just going to get more determined. And I was that guy. I've always been that guy where, all right, I got thrown, I get back up, I go at you even harder. And I get thrown again, I get back up, I go at you even harder. And maybe I'm just stupid that way. I don't know, but it's just that level of tenacity I always had because and I did fear failure all the time. Really, one quick anecdote. I had a girlfriend once who said, "You're always working on your backup plan. Why don't you take all that energy on your backup plan and put it in the plan that you want?" And that was shocking for
Ooh,
me.
that's powerful, man. Why? Hold on.
Yeah.
I gotta stop you there because that is something that people do not understand. Why was that shocking for you? And then what happened?
It was shocking for me because she was 100% right. And 2, it was that fear of failure, and I figured, well, if that doesn't work, I have this, and if that doesn't work, I have this, and if that doesn't work, I have this, because that fear of going back to not being able to feed myself was always so prevalent, and, wearing other people's clothes and getting picked on for it, and people saying, "That's mine," so I have a whole lot of stories in that, and it's all we could do. Um, and I just didn't want that. And but at the same time, what I had to do then at that moment is say, "You know what? You're right." And I'm gonna go without the safety harness for a second and put it all in that and realize I can do it. And then do what you need to do. For you as an auditory person, it would be having that mantra that you say, that those words of affirmation that you need to hear every day about how wonderful what you're doing for the world and how you're helping people and how you're determined to make this the number one podcast in mental health and keep saying those things over and over again. Here's a good example too. So it was a couple years into the company. We're doing really well and I hated my life. I was an owner of a company that was winning Inc. 5,000, growing 30, 40%, and I hated my life. So one day I woke up and I said, "This is stupid. Why do I hate my life? This is great." So every day on the ride to the Bronx, I would just say, I just pick things like, and I don't mean to make a material because I'm not a very material person, but it was the only thing that was going well. I was like, I love my house. I love my car. I love my job, which I didn't at the time, but I said it anyway. I love my life. And I said those 4 things for the 40, 45-minute ride to the Bronx. I love my house. I love my car. I love my job. I love my life. And in 2 weeks later, I was happier. Everything was going well. Now, what changed? Really, what changed? Did my job change? No, it was still long hours and tough and difficult and working out of an office trailer on the side of the Hutchinson River Parkway. It was hard, but my mindset changed, and you can change your mind. I do believe this. I do believe you can change your mind in a snap, because even when I had bulimia, I got addressed by, I got confronted with one of my roommates, and he says, "That's not good for you." I said, "You know what? You're right. It's not." And I never threw up again because I said and made that change, say, "This isn't good for me." And as soon as you make that really hard choice and you feel it down in your gut, in your chest, in your head, whatever resonates for you, then you can make that change, and now you start going through healing these traumas, um, by going back. And then again, everything is reincarnation. You get to do everything over again. You have a trauma, you can go find that point of that trauma and try to heal it. And for me, that fear of failure was, do this. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay,
Yeah.
the worst thing that can happen is I don't get the contract. It's a little bit tougher for me, but I'm never going to go all the way back to that. Where, to this day, Michael, I can't eat ramen noodles because that's all I could eat. Like, I was in Japan on these great places with my best friend, and I travel the world, and we went to these, and best ramen in the world. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't
Yeah.
do it. Too many 99 cent. So I hope I answered the question. I think the answer is you have to really just focus on what you want and see that. So another real quick story, during one of those summers working, I was trying to get the money to go to England and go on exchange. And so every day when I was working, this incredibly stressful, it's on an environmental disaster in dealing with the accounting there. I pictured dollar bills across the Atlantic Ocean. And every day it was like, as hard as it was, and being sleep deprived and stressed, it was like, all right, it's one more dollar bill across the ocean, one more dollar bill. I'm going to make it. And I'm a firm believer of present sacrifices for future benefits. What are you willing to sacrifice? There's nothing that comes, like you said, like, oh, we both wrote books from beaches. Yeah, but I had 30 years of hard sacrifice to get me there. So I earned it. And then again, I also felt that I had a responsibility. I woke up, I'm living on the beach in Barbados. It was beautiful. I meditated, exercised, and then said, sit down and write, because there was people in this world who would give their right arm for what you have. And you know what that's like. So that was motivating for me to sit down and do a good job, because I knew there were so many people that would do anything to switch spaces with me.